Welcome to Investors in Peace, the podcast where we explore how the business of business is peace and where we encourage more people to do more for peace. Before we dive into today's conversation, let me share a bit about our mission. Investors in Peace is all about shining a light on the incredible work being done by individuals, organizations, and communities around the world to promote people finding peace for themselves and establishing peace and conflict resolution in the world. This podcast is brought to you by the two co-founders of Investors in Peace, myself, Stephen Hinton.
And hello, I'm Peter Boyle.
Thanks, Peter. So this is our debut episode, and I thought we could share with listeners a little bit about what Investors in Peace is all about and how we came to start this initiative. Even though Peter and I are from different countries, there are two things that we have in common. The first is that we got involved with peace in a fairly early age when we were in our 20s. And then shortly after that, we both got involved in business in one way or another. Is that right, Peter?
Absolutely. I guess my first organization that I was running towards organic food, I founded it was 26. And before that, I had been working like you in the field of promoting peace and trying to understand it deeper and more. And I guess this is part of what we're going to do today.
Together with a partner of mine, business partner, we started a language training company in Stockholm, and we worked firstly with language with business English, and then we started working with teaching management skills. So I mean, we both did that, but I'm sure listeners, Peter, are really interested to hear how you found the whole world of peace. How did you come to discover it?
Well, frankly spoken, it started even earlier for me than in the 20s. I guess I must have been around 16 or something when I discovered that there was obviously more than what the school and the parents and everyone had been teaching me. I felt a longing, a kind of a lack, and I knew there's something in me. And I even wrote an essay saying there must be that I'm sure there is something, but I don't know how to access it. And this started my, you could call it search or whatever, started a way of going towards peace in different levels and areas and times and whatever. It was a real adventure, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, that's incredible, because I remember when I was 16, I wrote a poem and the title was "Who Am I and Why?"
Yeah.
And I felt the same, that there was something in me that was searching for that. Yeah, absolutely. For my own part, I remember standing on Ealing Common and looking up at the sky. And I remember saying, I want to do this, but I can't do it alone. So if there's anything in this universe that can help me, now's your time to show yourself.
Very courageous, Stephen. Very courageous.
Well, that was my feeling. My feeling was there that I wanted to know, but I wasn't really finding anything that. I was looking myself. I think I was looking into Buddhism and all kinds of things, and I read a lot about spiritual journeys and things like that. But I really felt that I wasn't going to find it. I'd looked in places and I hadn't found it.
Yeah, so similar for me. I I had read the Book of Death, the Tibetan Book of Death, of course, because some of my friends recommended it to me. And I even tried to memorize those bardos and understand them. And I was so much off any reality. It was all assumptions, assumptions, assumptions. And then at one point, how do you say, through the same friends, actually, I got in contact with something that, yeah, made it much more real for me, because I started understanding, okay, or I was told, look inside, the piece is there. And I understood that we all have to start from that. I guess we will discuss this at a later point a little bit more, but if you are not in peace, you can't bring peace or whatever. If you don't have water, you can't bring water. So simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very simple. It's a very simple understanding, but it's really quite profound, because I was kind of brought up. We had a church down the road, or a chapel, and of course my mother was active there, and I remember that the vibe there was kind of like, it's not in you, it's outside of you, so to speak.
Up
You,
there.
yeah, up there, somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's, in fact, it could be anywhere else, but it's not you, and that's when, in my 20s, I started to realize that, of course, it was in me, and it
Yeah.
was, the answer was to look inward. And even though I knew that, I still think I needed help to do that.
Yes. Same for me. I knew it, but I didn't know how to access it. This was really, and I really felt, how do you say, it caused a lot of pressure on me, because, if you, it was a bit like standing out there in the rain, cold, shivering, and you have your nose flat to the glass door where you can look and know there is whatever warmth or shelter or fire or whatever, the inner warmth. I knew it's there, and I couldn't. There was this, kind of glass door in between me and the access, and I didn't know how to overcome that, because I didn't understand that even the glass door was just one of my imaginations from my head, which didn't allow me to go to my heart.
You
It
see,
only looked like you can't access it, but I couldn't.
that's really interesting, because I had the same experience, actually. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's impossible, I can't do it, and everything. But I listened a lot to people speaking about the possibility that peace was within me. And I remember there were several times I just like opened myself up to the possibility. I was just open to possibility that that could be true. And I
Mm.
remember I started floating on a wave of peace. I just started to realize that if that were true, then that was really amazing. And that really kept me going. The sort of hope and the expectation that it could really happen. In a way, because I opened myself up to the possibility, that glass door just disappeared for a moment. The glass doors were the part was just like, hey, it's possible. That's really beautiful. I mean, I often shared that feeling of, you know, hey, just,
Yeah, and I guess that's what it's all about. It's peace is not a thought. It's not an action. It is not it's not even an unaction. It's a feeling. It's something that if you experience it, you know it immediately that you are now you are in peace. No one else can tell you. You can't go to whatever, here in Bavaria, we have these beautiful mountains, and there are quote unquote peaceful places. And but this is not the peace. The peace.
No, no. And many times I've been in beautiful places and I
Yeah,
haven't been in a good space to really enjoy them.
yeah.
So I
And
know that very much. What I was thinking, Peter, is that we won't tell much more of that part of the story,
right.
just to say that we started to open up to possibility. Peace was within us, and we were looking for guidance. Instead of talking about how we did that, we could leave the listeners a little bit on a cliff edge and talk about business.
Yeah, right.
Because, I mean, we were young and we needed the money. And actually, I found business quite interesting. I enjoyed running a business. I enjoyed the challenge and learning about the whole. I mean, we've been through this. You learn the whole thing. You have a business idea, and then you have the investment needed, and then you have the marketing, and then you sell to the customers, and then you're delivering the service, and all of that. So I went through that with two empty hands. Me and my partner built up a business that was quite successful, and it was something that we could live on, and we were seen to be some of the best in town, so to speak, which was good, and attracted to us some quite, high-end customers, which was quite inspiring. In one way, I think I separated the two, and I think you have to sometimes. It's like on the one hand, I have the idea that there's this thing of peace and it's a real experience. And there's this other thing, I have to go to work.
And you split it.
Yeah,
How do you say?
I would
You
never
split your
talk to my,
personality, the guy who goes to work and the guy who goes into the peace.
yeah.
You
And
want
I would never talk to my customers. In the beginning, I'm talking about in the beginning,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
first 5 years of my business, I would never talk to my customers about peace. I would talk to my customers about business.
Hmm.
And the business of business was to earn money. You have to earn money to live.
Yeah, I guess I had a slightly different approach. Of course, the money side was important to me too, because at the same time when I started my business, I had just founded a little family. My first son was about a year old or something like that,
Mm.
and I had to feed him and my wife and myself too. You can't exclude yourself then. But I always felt that I want to do business from the heart, if you want to speak like that. I want to be in peace whilst I am working at my job, or in this case, in my own company. And I had this argument sometimes with some of my employees that exactly had that habit of, okay, Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock, my life starts. And before that, I'm only this kind of whatever, not even robot, but this much part of a machine, and I'm not there. And I always said, no, 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 you are living right now here also. Have a good time, and if something goes wrong, fuck it. Then your boss will shout at you. Don't take it serious. Uh, and having jokes like that, but I always had the understanding that as a human being, you have to be. In the introduction, you used the word holistic, right? We have to be a holistic being, and your perception of that being has to be holistic. And I tried to live that. And from today's perspective, it was like, oh my God, I couldn't do it, and I did everything wrong then, maybe, or whatever. But the intention was there, and the connection to that being in peace was there, how frail it may have been, and how do you say, and how unused or how practiced, or how do you say in English? I wasn't good at it because I hadn't practiced it before a lot.
Mm.
And what I also wanted to say to what you said, how you approached it, this, okay, I have to go to work for the money. I mean, this is so much, how do you say, driven, nailed into our heads, and this is a wrong paradigm. This is one of the, we immediately cross one of the core statements of Invest in Peace, which is we have to change our paradigms to have a society and a culture of peace and a business that is driven and run by peace. We have to rethink and rephrase our core understandings here.
I discovered my mother was an alcoholic when I was growing up. And of course, I'd moved from England to Sweden, and I didn't have much contact with her. But just by a coincidence, I found out um, that I'd actually grown up in an alcoholic family, and that I was codependent. And so I started going to meetings to deal with codependency.
Mm-hmm.
And it was then I discovered, and I was quite sad actually, because when you're codependent, you live almost in a constant situation of stress
Sure,
because you're always pleasing
sure,
someone. And this comes from living in an alcoholic family where you never know if you're going to get love or you're going to get attention, because the alcoholic finds it difficult to have that connection with you
sure.
for various reasons. And so I started to see that I'd compartmentalized my life in
Mm-hmm.
order to deal with my codependence.
Mm.
And I also realized that what you do when you're codependent is you don't allow yourself to feel.
Sure, there's no space for that.
It's not safe to feel. You're not in a safe space to feel. And so this explained why I was compartmentalizing like I was. That, I have to do the business, I have to feed my family, I have to do this. It was kind of following on from the codependency stress.
Sure,
And it was, I just thank very much. I'm so grateful to the 12-step program, because it made me realize that I can live my life all the time. I can feel all the time. It's not dangerous to feel. Okay, I mean, not dangerous to feel upset. It's not dangerous to feel this and that. And if you allow yourself to feel all that, then you can feel the other stuff. So, but it's
yeah,
interesting that
no,
it was really by discovering peace that I even could imagine that a world beyond living in stress was even possible. It's funny this, but it was at that time that I kind of cleaned my life up a bit, allowed myself to be myself more, to feel peace more, and that's when um, I got offered a very, very good job. So I closed my business down and started
mm,
working for a large international telecommunication company. So, Peter, I've just shared with you how I sort of went from peace, compartmentalizing, to realizing that there was more to life for me in terms of feeling. I know your experience was different. What are there any high points you had when you were running that first company in the health food business you can share?
Well, there was a few things that, how to say, made it pleasurable to run it, which was from being in contact with peace, at least once in a while, I would say. I don't even want to say on a daily basis, because this daily basis was not really given even so I was maybe striving for it. But being in contact with the real peace, it not only calms you down, it recharges your batteries. Definitely, it's better than deep sleep. It has the same wavelengths, I recently heard or read or whatever. Anyway, but I don't want to even go there. I wanted to say that what was really fun, and one of the highlights, was that I saw that from having an inner straight line, which was how to say, I felt almost like a laser line, pointing through my life. And this laser was the feeling of peace, was the understanding of peace, as good as I maybe understood it then, but the feeling was there. It was not like, oh, I understood all aspects of peace and that. No, but there was a straight feeling, which was a guiding line to say, okay, don't sway off too much in this direction, not too much in this direction. And as you said, you cleaned up your life. It was more or less the same for me. I guess I stopped drinking alcohol and smoking weed, and what else? Singing. No, I stopped a few things that were not so healthy, more or less on one day, in the same day, after a certain experience of this inner peace. And what I really liked was that the energy that was provided by being in peace sometimes seemed to be above the average level. And I used it to work hard, stupid as I was. I went for a 16-hour working day sometimes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, and I even felt great about it, that not only that I could do it, but the power would flow even more, and I how to say, I didn't reflect on myself that this was an unhealthy mindset to go into it like that. Maybe I should have taken the same energy more into the space of enjoyment. And it was also enjoyable, to feel yourself as, okay, I'm putting this together. I'm a really young business owner. I mean, back in the early 80s, this was not so common like now, But I liked a lot to learn and see that my personal strengths are in place, and I can use them, and I can get things together. It worked, so to speak, with setbacks and whatever happens, but basically it worked, and it carried me and my family for quite a long time. It was not like, how do you say, a one day's fly or something. It ran for many years. And but the excitement behind it was that from doing that, there was also a satisfaction of bringing something good to people. Not only the intention of peace, but also, I knew I had really only good products, the best possible on the market, let me call it. That's what I was going for. It was not like, yeah, because I felt like when you are connected with this inner peace and this high level standard of experience, you also want to express it on the business level.
Yeah.
It was like just a few years ago, or not a few years, just a while ago, I met an old friend and colleague of that time who did muesli, crunchy muesli, English type crunchy. And I always fought with him, kind of like, but you can't use that quality of ingredients to start with. Go for better. No, 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 they're cheaper and that, and it's fine too, and it's the standard. I said, yeah, but this is second class standard or third class standard. Why not? I mean, it's food. It's like we were in the food, in the health food branch, right? It was something the body has to digest. So why not best quality there? And best quality in the heart, and then you can think about good quality for yourself in your mind or brain or whatever. Anyway.
Well, I felt the same. I was excited by business and even more by excellence. And that was when the books started to come out about excellence in business. Tom Peters with someone wrote a book. I think it was called Searching for Excellence or something like that. And that really resonated with me because I think when you have that feeling of peace in your life, that life on earth and the things you do could be pretty amazing. You can innovate and you have so many capabilities to really do something. And at that point, I think I really felt that if there was anything that was going to raise humanity, it was the business would help.
This was my understanding for quite a while then too. And then in between, I didn't even think it so much. And then when we started the Invest in Peace initiative, it was very clear that it has to be focused on the business sector rather than on whatever private area. Even though peace is a very private and personal thing to begin with.
Yeah.
But it can't stay there. This is what I often see in these people who promote peace as a kind of a religious thing or something. It stays in the place of an idea or of an understanding. And even if there is a true feeling behind it, maybe, if you don't translate it into something practical that can be run in a business environment, or how do you say, translated into a business environment, it's not good for nothing. Or you have to translate it into family or relationships or whatever. But it can't stay there like, yeah, okay, I'm in peace, that's it. Nothing else.
So I'll just try and finish with this, because one of the essences in business life nowadays is the project. The project has a beginning and it has an end, and it's the way you organize. And to me, when I got into project management, I thought this is the way. But you have to ask yourself, beginning and end. My life has an end. And in fact, even the human race has an end, because it's going to end sometime. It could be because of global warming, or it could be because the sun explodes. But it has a beginning, it has an end. So what is the end purpose of that project? And to me, the most beautiful human project could be peace.
I absolutely agree. And that's what's possible. This is within our possibilities. That's the nice thing about it. It's not like something, as you said in the very beginning, something far away, something put unreachably away. No, it's very close by.
So that's what the podcast is all about, and that's what we're going to be exploring in the coming issues. So please subscribe and keep in touch.
And we will continue these exciting conversations for us, for ourselves, and for you listeners as well. And thank you for being with us. And hear you next time.